In this week's Retro Pop Culture News, Reading Rainbow is getting a new documentary. Urkel, he has a cartoon that's going to be made, and the 80s show Life Goes On is being revived, and there's a lot more news to talk about, so don't turn that dial. What up to my peoples, and welcome to Retro Crunch. So to start off the news, there is a new documentary called Butterflies in the Sky, which is being made, which details the history of the popular education program, Reading Rainbow. And we know that this especially hits home for all those 80s and 90s kids. The show's host, LeVar Burton, many of you might remember him as Geordi LaForge in Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, he is going to be heavily featured in the documentary along with archived footage of the show, and there's going to be a ton of interviews. But we really don't have any other news on the documentary yet, but I will keep you updated once I find out more. Now, in the meantime, if you want to listen to some LeVar Burton nowadays, he does a podcast where he reads short fiction stories that he's handpicked for each episode, and I'll link to that down below. Then I want to talk right to the camera for a second. Guys, there is a problem that really ails me. I really need your help. It's really difficult for me to say, and I feel it's making me really vulnerable right now. It's freaking killing me that Sylvester Stallone, he hasn't put Mr. T in any of his Expendables movies yet. This has to end. Sly Stallone, come on, man. You have made ensemble casts of all of the greatest action heroes and badasses of the 80s and 90s, and still no Mr. T. You're making an Expendables 4, so come on, Sly. You gotta do it for the nostalgia fans, the 80s kids, all those people that are looking up to one of the greatest role models of our generation, Mr. T. All right, I got that out of my system. We can move on. And then in our next news, when I say, did I do that? You know exactly who I'm talking about. We're talking about Steve Urkel from the 90s sitcom Family Matters. Man, I love that show. I hate that it's gone. I miss it so much. And that show's been off the air for a while, but if you are a fan of the show, old Urkel, he's coming back for his very own Christmas movie that's aptly named Did I Do That to the Holidays? A Steve Urkel story. Now, this movie is going to feature Jaleel White lending his voice to Steve Urkel in this animated feature, and from what I can tell, it's going to be coming out sometime before Christmas, I believe, but the date has not been announced yet. And then in some more animated news, the highly anticipated animated sequel, Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai, it's going to be premiering on both HBO Max and Cartoon Network sometime in 2022. The show is 10 episodes. It's going to be about a younger Gizmo who's living in 1920s Shanghai, China, and it's going to tell the story of how Sam Wing first came to meet Gizmo. Now, I'd really like to know exactly when this is coming out, but finding out that it is going to be on Cartoon Network, I think that's some good news, and knowing that we don't have to pay for HBO Max to watch it, I think that's a real plus for now. Then here's a couple more things real quick. Will Smith, he announced the actor that's going to be playing in the reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That guy was cast. I'm not real sure what I think about it yet. This show has been delayed a ton of times already, so seeing any kind of movement in this, I'm happy for. But here is some news that I totally was not expecting. So the show Life Goes On, it is actually getting a revival series according to Deadline.com. This was a show that I really liked as a kid, almost as much as 90210, but not quite as much. And it featured the first time an actor with Down syndrome was actually cast as a regular on a TV show. And I'm hearing that both Corky and Becca, that they're both going to be returning for their revival. This is a story that I'll be following for sure. So if I get any more news on Life Goes On 2.0, I'll let you know. And finally, if you're into retro news and nostalgia from back in the day, I'll see you in the next video. I'll catch you on the flip side, and remember, if it ain't retro, it ain't worth watching.